Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Good wherever you are. JP here with Learn Breakdance. And a big favor I have to ask you at the beginning, please hit like for the video if you found it useful. This will really help to grow the channel as we get more support. Thank you very much for that, and I appreciate the early support. Really thankful. Now, what we did in the previous video is we made a hero and we are using the Alpha 1.0 of Breakdance, which means we're going to encounter loads of bugs and there's probably a lot of other feature changes that will also come. I'm more interested in to see how the builder works and just get a general idea of how we're going to work with it. And can it do the most important things that we usually expect a builder to do when we're building out a website? This is what we did previously, loved it, and today we're going to work with a feature section. Now, some call it feature, some call it info, some call it content, and this is the one that I've created. Very, very basic, and we have a little bit of a paragraph there with, well, maybe this is my name, and then over here, 3 features. And we are going to do that. It also works very nice on mobile. So if we go to have a look at what we did on mobile, this is our tablet that we did yesterday. And then if we scroll down, you can see we have kept it vertical in tablet mode all the way until we get to mobile. And from mobile, we had stacked it, which is the sensible thing to do. I added a number of other features here, which I probably won't always do. Like you see, I added a white border there. And the reason for that was just to play around with Breakdance to see what it actually can do. And you would have noticed I also added a little entrance animation, which only appears once. Love the fact that I can make it only appear once. Many entrance animations from certain builders will keep doing the same entrance animation again and again, and I think once is enough. Let's jump then into Breakdance. I'm getting used to saying Breakdance, 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 and let's go build it out. So this is what I've got here. Shall I go ahead and delete it? I'm so nervous, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to copy it again. But yeah, we're just experimenting here, so I'm not going to punish myself if I'm not able to recreate it exactly the same way that I have done here. So what I will do is I'll click on the section, and then in the sidebar on the left, you have the option to delete it. You can also right click and then simply select delete, which is the easier one to do. Now you can see as I right click, there's also the option to save as a global block. I'm going to do this just in case I'm worried that I don't remember how I did anything. So I'll call this my info section and then click save. And one other actual feature that is in here that you may not be aware of, that I have an animated gradient. If you look very carefully, because it's very lightly shaded, I have a dark teal green and a light one, and the two are slowly animating between it. Yeah, it's there. Just have a close look. I like subtle. So now I'm going to go ahead and delete it, and then let's click on add, and we bring in a section. And now this time I'm not going to bring in any columns. I'm going to work directly in the section. The first thing we'll do is to change the background color, and I'll grab a color from this hero image we have up here. I have a color picker, and I'm going to look for something not too crazy dark over this, and I'll copy that hex code there. Let's close it out. Make sure the section is selected, which it is. Go to background, and we would put in color, but I want to work with a gradient. Select gradient, choose, and in this box, select everything and paste your color. To get to the other colors, you can see that this now has changed green, but there is a red also applied. And to get to the second gradient, you select it over here. You see the 2 dots, one on the left and one on the right. Click on the red one on the right, and then I'll paste the same hex, Command V. But in this case, I'll go to the color picker and I'll grab my selector here and I'll just drag it up a little bit. And these are those small little changes that make the difference often between a professional design and amateur works. And that's that if you look carefully, there is a very slight design. something not too obvious, but something that gives a little bit of depth, if you can see it. You can grab this controller here that will determine in which direction your gradient will appear. I'll put the dark like so. And you can even go ahead and add another color to the gradient. So if you are so inclined, anywhere within this bar, click on it and it will add another one. So if I make this one a crazy color, let's put it on red, you can clearly see it. To remove it, shift and click on it. You see there appears an X, delete, shift and click on it, and it will remove it. Lovely. And up here, you can also check you have linear and radial. Let's keep it to linear. And we've set up our gradient. Very nice and very convenient. Close out. And then next to it, we're going to select gradient animation. The gradient animation is basically a flow between the two gradients, or the two colors rather, from one to the next, or if you have more than that. So you can scale it here if you want it on a bigger scale. I'm going to leave as is, and then I'll just increase the speed a little. Just for our reference, let's go and change the gradient color again. I'll choose this one, and I'll just put it on another color so that we can have an idea. And if I close it, do we see it move? Let's go back to the gradient animation. Maybe all of this is in my, let's go down to 1 second. Then it should move quicker. Scale, let's have a look at scale. Okay, and close it. I don't see the animation, so maybe that's on the front end. Let's save our work, Control Command S, and go view it on the front end. I'll go to the X and Control Command click to exit to front end. That opens a new one for us. And let's see if we have any gradient animation. I don't see the animation. I was pretty confident that there is an animation applied. What I'll do, and we can check on this later again, is I'll click here, choose. Let me paste this color again for the second one, and I'll make it much lighter. There I just went ahead and changed the first one. Let me do it again. Sorry for the detour. Hold on tight, and let's change this one as well. Control Command V, and I'll make this one much lighter in case there is a gradient that we can see. Let me just move. I think let's leave it at 0 so that if we have a gradient movement, we can see it. And maybe I'm expecting too much of the gradient animation. I'll clear it first, and then let's select again gradient animation. And then we have to say, I saw something move there, definitely. Okay, that I can see moving now. And then you can scale it. If we want it slower. Okay, that's still a little too fast for me. You don't want it to be too in the face. Okay, good. Let's save. And I'm just going to go ahead and look again at it on the front end. Make sure. Yeah, I can see the movement there. The idea with this Let's Do Breakdance Alpha 1.0 is a very casual look at how the builder works. So it's not supposed to be a grand tutorial and how to learn and do everything within Breakdance. The real idea here is just to get an idea how it works. So if I get off the path for a few moments every now and again, please forgive me. Sometimes if I talk too much, you need to have a lot of forgiveness in your heart for when I keep rambling on and on. Right. Let's close this and bring in some text. And I think I'm just going to work with the text element over here. I'll simply click on it. And then as it is selected, I'll go to add again. And under that, no, I'm going to use the same text element. So let's stick to this one. But because I want everything here in the middle, I want some space here at the bottom so I can drag this up to the middle. In this case, I'm going to add another section. That is just as a little bit of a buffer so I can get my work area to the middle. That's why I recommended in the previous video, if it is possible, to add an open canvas area here at the bottom with a plus, so that if people want to bring in a new section, and that will also allow that buffer at the bottom, so you don't always have to work here at the end of your viewport. I'll be using some random text. I'm going to go to loremipsum.io. And then I'm not going to generate anything fancy. I'll grab a few sentences here. Let's make it a little bit more. Right click and copy. And then I'll go click on the text heading. I can double click in there to select it. I'll just pop it in there. Control Command V. Select styling. We go to typography first, change the color, and we select the white swatch that we had created in the previous tutorial. I said it isn't a tutorial, and there I used the word. I'll also align the text alignment, not the box, only the text to center. And then we'll change the font family again to Josephine Sans. And for this one, let's see, 16, I'll keep it at 16. I think by default it is 16. And we'll put it at 400, which is also the default for the paragraph. 400 is usually the weight for between 400 to 500 of your standard text. And next, I will duplicate this to put my name under it. And all I do is you can either click here in the sidebar next to the text. You know it is selected. As you can see text there, click here on duplicate, or you can click here on duplicate, or you can right click and duplicate. No, you cannot. So click here for the duplicate. This time I'll select all the text and I'll just type in Saigon Joe. Gamer tag, that's why. And now I have all the same settings. It's center aligned, etc. I'll put this on uppercase, go to design, typography, advanced, and then you select next to transform uppercase. And I'll also change the font weight here. Let's go and put it on 600. That's too little. Put it on 800. That's much better. What I want to achieve though is for all of this to be center aligned in the section. For no coders, this way of working, which is referred to as the flex box, is not that new, but actually very new, especially for no coders. For people who come from low coding backgrounds, they often take it for granted and love Flexbox like I do. But we actually forget that it is not something that comes from normal word editing programs. And the reason I mentioned that is if you look at the traditional page builders, like Elementor's traditional way, there is correlation between how you would do text in a word editor and how you would do it in Elementor. So people who are used to working in PowerPoint or any other kind of editing program is very familiar in how to arrange the text, how to make it center, how to align it to the left, etc. But now with Flex, things become a little bit tricky because how do I get things to be in the center now? And to have all of this center aligned under each other, you have to instruct the parent container how to do that. And in this case, our parent container is the section. Click on the section to make sure it is selected, and you'll see it will say section up here. You can also open the structure here on the right, and you will see it is selected with that blue bar. I'll close it again. And now go to layout. And this is where you get the align option from. It is set by default to the left align. And then you can put it to center. Let me just see if it says left and right, because sometimes we talk about start and end, but this is left align. And this is what I had wanted to achieve. Add some space between these two elements. Biggest mistake newcomers to graphic design make is not to bring in enough space. We often talk about negative space or white space. The idea is that space brings structure. If you often look at your design and you think something is wrong with it, it's a good guess just to begin adding some space in there. It's better to add more space than less space. You can add the space to either of these elements. I'll select here Saigon Joe, then I'll hover at the top and I'll just drag a little bit of space in. And I cannot even see how many pixels because the label of the text element is covering that. And this is one of the things that I often say on the Websites for Beginners website. Try to be pixel imperfect. Use your eye, gauge it and say, that looks good enough for me, and let it go. And I'm going to do the same at the bottom. I'll bring in a little bit as well. Here is the thing. I want to constrain how wide this box is. I don't want it to run all the way from here to here. I want it a little bit narrower. And if you select it, you go to your design, which is already open. This is where I think Breakdance wants to encourage us to use a very simple setting like this one, width. And what I'll do is, and I'll just grab it and I'll drag it to around 600 pixels. Let's make it 750 and I can type that in, 750 pixels. And now you achieve that constrained look. I suspect that is what the size feature for that one is. Where are we now? Click again on that. It only gives you the width. Looking at that text, I'm not happy with it. I'll tell you two reasons. I think the lines are too close to each other and I want to make it a little bit lighter. I'll do that by go to the font family on the weight and I'll put it on 200. That's better. And then under advanced, I will go to line height and I'll put in 1.6. Yep, and there it adds more space between the lines. Again, the rule of line height is it's 10% of your font weight. So if your font size is 16, then your line height is 1.6, the bigger you make it. That is for paragraphs, not for headings. For headings, you don't want that huge space. You will bring it a little bit narrower. Good, so we've recreated this. Next, we're going to bring in 3 info boxes. And the rule is whenever you work with boxes that are similar, you're going to work with one box, style it out nicely, and then you are going to duplicate it for the other 2. In the same container, let's go to add, grab columns, and I'll just drop it there. I could have just clicked on it, and I'm going to choose 3 because I need that visual guidance to know how my spacing will look. Select Saigon Joe again, and I'll add a little bit more padding there. The one thing we get right off the bat with Breakdance is a load of elements. Click add just to have a look at all these elements. And you won't believe it. Yesterday, the first element I was looking for when I was designing this, I couldn't find it. And it isn't there. I went to the forum to put it in as a future request. I think they've got something in mind for that called a fancy divider. I'm just looking for a line. I'm a big line user as a separator, but I also like to use lines sometime on the left and on the right. No such a function. There's no line, there's no divider, but I think they've got fancy divider or fancy separator. So go there, upvote those requests that you need for your design and building purposes so that we can get them developed and into the builder. What we're going to do is use one of these ready-made elements. What many people often miss, the people say, give us more elements, is that actually everything can be done with those under basics. And these guys under that are often just combinations of those elements. But we want something that is ready-made, that can move quicker, and that's why we love these ready-made ones. And the one that I played around with to achieve this feature section is the icon box. With this one, is it the plus? You can just click on icon box and it will drop it in there. Very nice. You get immediate layout there that's going to work for an icon box. And we're going to make massive changes to it. What you see in here is that we've got an icon, then we've got the title, we've got some text, and then we have a button. In the sidebar on the left, you again see we have 3 tabs. The first one is content. So we expect at least 4 things there: the icon, title, the text, and the button. And then next to that, this will be our styling, and this will be advanced or more settings. I like the word more settings. There is advanced, so let's call this one settings. Go back to content, and the first one I will do is change out the icon. So let's see what Breakdance gives us in terms of icons. Click on choose, you get Font Awesome 5, free, brand, solid, regular, and Icon Moon free, and then you can upload. I usually bring in my own. I will show you in a future video how to do that. Let's go here and search all icons. And this feature I'm very happy for, because I'm not sure if later update in Oxygen, but in Oxygen you usually had to search each and all of them separately for the one you wanted. So searching all icons, magnificent. I chose download here. Let's choose a different one. I'll go for this one. And it drops it in there. So we got the download, and then let's put a title in there, and I'll grab some lorem ipsum, just 2 words. Let's go for lorem ipsum. And I know it so well, I could have typed it. Let's put in lorem ipsum. Let's change the I to uppercase. And then that lorem ipsum text, I'm going to reduce this just to a small little sentence. Let's put this sentence in there. I think that's manageable. Select all, Control Command V. And do I want a period, full stop after it? I do. Now you can work with the button here. I'm not going to use a button. So what I will do is select the button options, and all you need to do is clear the text. Note though, there's a little dot next to text. And remember, the dot means it has changed from the default state. If you hover over it and it goes to the delete X, if you click on it, it removes the text as well as the button. That's how you get rid of that. Rotate function is for your icon. So if you need to move the icon different directions, then you do that with rotate. I don't need it, so I'll make sure I remove all of that. Let's just save our work. Control Command S to make sure we're still in the game. Now comes the styling part. Click on styling and we have container, which is our box, and then the icon, typography, button, and spacing. Let's start at the top. It's a good place to start. Container. And we have left, center, and then right. Let's throw it to the left first. Let's go to background. And this is where you click on the color, grab your transparency slider under your hue slider all the way to the left and take it out. Next, borders. Select the borders. And you see there's already a 4-pixel border applied. I'll change the color of this 4-pixel border to white. I'll select it from my white swatch. It hasn't changed. Let me see if I put in a 2 here. I still don't see any changes there. Oh, yeah, that's my mistake. That's radius. What am I doing? I want sharp corners. Radius is corners. Confuse me. All right, so I'm going to delete that. Let's see if I say delete. Okay, that gives me my sharp corners. Sure, I started sweating here like crazy for a moment. Width is where I want to go. I'll put in 1 width, and then the color is white. So I guess that black line we saw is just the box to give us an indication of where this icon box is. And then you have the style here. You can have your dash dotted, and I'm on solid. And shadow. The icon box comes by default with a blur shadow applied of 40. Very important to note that, because it may confuse you if you wonder why there is a little bit of a shade there. Click here on the delete. It takes out the shadow, and now I have that box that I was looking for at the beginning. Select the box again. Let's go back and work on the rest of it. I'll close the container for now because I want to bring the icon to the left of the text. Select the icon. And I have my position here, top, where it's currently at. If I click top, nothing happens. Left, and then right. So I'll pop it to the left. And then you have additional options, how you're going to align it adjacent to that of the text. So you have top, middle, you see it moves to the middle, and bottom. I'm going to put it on the bottom. Style out the icon, click on the settings. And number of things I want to do here. I probably want to remove the border first. The padding I want to remove, so I'll click on the padding to get rid of the padding. The radius, I'll remove that. Outline width, I'll remove that, or I'll put it back to 0. And I think I've messed it up quite a bit now. So let me have a look from the top to the bottom. Let's first start with the size of the icon. And that is not the icon. Is it the icon? Yes, it is the icon. Style, we go to none. Okay, that's better just to select none and not go through all of that rigmarole I just went through. Let's put it on 40 pixels. Too small, right? 60 pixels. I think we need to make some changes also to the text size here. I didn't do that. And then the color we put on white. Very simple. And actually that was much easier. So the moment you choose solid, you're going to get a background that's solid. Outline will give you the one that we started with. So taking it out is actually pretty easy. And that is just done here with the none. And boom, there is my icon ready. You can have a look now again if you play around with top. This is how it will move around from top. I like it there on the middle, and maybe at the top is okay. Close out icon. Let's go for typography. We work on the title first. Let's put it on white. And the font family is our good friends Josephine Sons, working overtime. And for the size, what shall we do here? 20. Let's see, 20. 20 is a little too small. So let's go for 30. Yeah, too big. So 24. And we'll put the weight. I think the weight is fine, but let's put it on 600 advanced. And I'm going to also put this on our capitalize all. Line height, I'll type in 1. And the reason I'm putting in 1 is I'm trying to remove a little bit of that space between the top heading and the text below it. Good. So we've done everything for our title. Let's go do the same for our text. We're going to put the text also on white. Close the text out. Font family is also Josephine Sons. And here I'm breaking a rule. And the rule I'm breaking is the size of text. Text should start at a minimum on a website at 16. And if you don't believe me, put it on something like 12 and 14, and then go try and read it on a mobile device. It's extremely difficult often to read it, especially if it's set to light. But the reason we will do that is often purely as a design element. We don't really expect anyone to read it, but we like how it kind of balances the design. That's what I'm going to do here as well. So the font size I'm going to put on 14. I think I want it smaller because I just want it in one line. Let's try 12. That is too small. I'll go back to 14, and this is one of those things that you have to do. Go and change the text so it only can fit in one line. The weight, I'll put on 300. And then for advanced, I'll go back to the line height and I put it on 1. Before I put in 1, look at the space as it reduces. And that shows you there's some default spacing that has been applied there. Close out, click content, and I will delete this word so we can get everything into one line. Let's have a look at what else is here under our design. So we've looked at the container. We've went through all of this, and you have container width, which you don't really have to mess with because you are working with these columns. You have additional padding if you want to add that. I like the default setting for this one. That's the whole idea behind the default settings. The icons, you have where you want to place it. This icon is probably a little bit too big at 50. Let's put it there at 50. And you will see that you also have top at. And this is a breakpoint setting that you can assign to the icon. If you need more space as you go down on devices, at some point you want to put it at the top to free up that space. And that's where you will set this over here. And we looked at our typography. Let's not look at the button because we don't have a button here. But the button, as you can see, similar to any other button, you have your options to style it with your global styles for primary, secondary, or you can go for a text-only link or then make a custom button. Finally, spacing. So we have more here. So below title, this is the lorem ipsum part. Let's put it on 0 to see if any changes happen. Yes, indeed. So there's, again, a default applied there. I'll probably say this a million times. I wish that the default value can appear here grayed out so I can learn this because it helps me to improve my design as well if I know that there is maybe 5 pixels margin applied there or whatever. So 0 is too little. Let's put 5. I like that at 5. And container spacing, which is going to give you the margin at the top and the margin at the bottom. But sit back, look at it, and tell yourself, do I need to mess around with those margins and padding and extra stuff? The answer to that is no. You've got something good going on here, Kathy. Don't let it go. Now we have created this, and now we want to put it in these columns. There are a plethora of ways. You can make new columns. You can create it all. You can save it and pop it in there. What I will do is I will just go to this icon box. I'll click on duplicate twice. No, I have to click on it again. And then you see the little move handle here. I'll grab it and drag it into the column. Same for this one. And now, as simple as that is, I'll go and change out the icons. Let's call this one network. Click on the next one, choose the icon, server. And there you have a very nice info box. That's kind of the idea behind the info box. So I'm pretty used to, in Oxygen, that I can click on this container, the icon box, and I can link it. So I can make the whole container clickable. And this is particularly useful for mobile devices where we work with big, fat, grubby fingers, and those small little buttons are very difficult to click. It's better to give people an area to click. It makes it much easier to be used. So I do not find that here. Let me just check again. Settings, advanced, and we go to the wrapper. There are classes, ID, attributes, and under wrapper, background, this is just your settings again. So no, and I think I had seen on the forum also, I didn't see the option just to link anything like we're used to in Oxygen. Really great feature that I would love to see implemented in the future so that I can set up these boxes to be clickable and take me somewhere else. Let's save it, Control Command S, and I go to my Sissy developer. I'll refresh it because now we've made many changes. This great one that I've made earlier is going to disappear, and we're going to get, I did a pretty good job at kind of replicating the boringness. Now on our devices for our desktop and our laptop, they look good. And even here, if you go to the mobile device, by standard, not bad, right? Look at that, how it is stacked. It works, but it doesn't work here on the tablet. So we're going to make a few changes. We're going to make the stacking changes, and then we're also going to add that border. And I'll show you that is done within the section. And now I've got a cat standing in front of the monitor, so I cannot see where, there it is. Thanks for moving. First, let's add a border. Click on the section. On the left, you will see borders, and that's it. So you have a border radius. That's again your corners. And then for your styling, let's add a width of 20 pixels, and you select white. And bing, bada, boom. That was super easy. That's how you can add a border to your section. Now let's go and have a look at responsiveness. First one up is tablet landscape, and we do not want them doing this. We want them still vertically next to each other. To achieve that, you go to the columns because it's nested inside the columns. To select the columns, I'll click here on the icon box and note this little arrow that shows up. It says select parent, and that's your parent container. And if I select it, it goes to column, but that's only one column. You want the entire column containers. So click one more time and you will see it says columns. If this isn't visual enough and you don't really know where you are now in the game, open the structure panel on the right and you will see that there is the main container for your columns is a columns. So you have a column in a column. Now, with that selected, go to layout. And it says here force vertical stacking. You're going to only force it once you go to phone portrait. So your lowest level is where you're going to force it. Currently it is forced and it starts at tablet landscape. That is the default setting. But I want it to be next to each other all the way until I get to my phone, and then I want it stacked. So click on phone portrait and you will see they stack. A few things happened here, which doesn't bother me at all. The first thing is that heading text that was in one line is now 2 lines. Do you see? I'm not bothered at all. I still think it looks good. So I go to tablet portrait. It's a little bit squashed, but I think it's okay. And then I go to phone landscape, which doesn't work. And then we go to phone portrait. And now you will see it is stacked. Right? If you want to, you can go and change the text size here and make that responsive, make it a little bit smaller. Why not? Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. So select the first icon box. And then we go to typography. We go to title. And I don't know what the font size was. 24, right? Let's put it on 20. And I wonder, can I right click copy, right click on this one, paste design. It works like a charm. Oh, I just love it when things that I expect is going to give me trouble work. And that's one of them. I hope you saw what I did there. It's a copy style and paste the style. They call it copy design, paste design. So I made one change here. Let's do it again. I'll go to this icon box, go to typography, title, and let's change something here. What can we change here? Let's just put it on a different weight. That will help you see it better. Put on 900. You see that is thicker now. Right click, copy, go to the next one, right click, paste design, and you see the weight gets thicker. Paste design. Save it, Control Command S, and let's go view it. Question I often get is, why do I use a separate developers tool? I'm using 4 displays here. I have a Galaxy S20, an iPad, MacBook Air, as well as a desktop. Sometimes I go more than that. This just helps me to understand, does my design really translate well to these devices? Because often, as much as builders try to give you a true to Bob ratio, it doesn't work. And you can ask Bob, it doesn't always work. So that's why I use these developers tool. You can use the inspector in your browser. I just like this. I like bling. Let's refresh this and reload it and see how it looks now on the tablet. Yep, on the tablet. And like I made that font over there in the mobile device smaller, I can also do it for the tablet and probably get it in one line. I like this. So we've created our feature section. Nice complementary for our spa website. Similar colors. Do you see the animation of background gradient? I think so. Let's go and open this one in focus mode. And then see if we can see that gradient. Yeah, I can see the gradient. I'm confident I can see it. And that brings us to the end of Let's Do Breakdance Alpha 1.0. I'm starting to love this. Really excited to play with it and see what it can do. And there's a lot of hidden gems in this builder along the way, like this animated gradient, things that you don't expect and they just pop up there. Any tips and tricks? Please drop them in the comments section below. Thank you for the support. See you in the next video.